Good afternoon, everyone. So the time is right now for the class. So I am going to share my screen and we will start our element 5 today. So again, we are discussing about management of international health and safety. And today is our element 5, health and safety management system, measuring, audit and review. What does it means? What we learn in this element? Let's read the next slide about learning outcomes. After learning this element, you will be able to outline the principles, purpose, and role of active and reactive monitoring. We will understand what is meant by reactive and proactive monitoring. We will be study about audit. What is the use? What is the purpose of audit? What are the types of audit? We will go through the accident investigation procedures, incident investigation procedures, work studies, why accident occurred, what need to affect, why we need to investigate the incident or accident. We will also learn about legal requirements and organizational requirements in recording and reporting incidents, why we need to record, why we need to report, why we need to investigate. And we will also study the procedure of regular review of health and safety performance. Why we need to review health and safety performance? What is the benefits? What are the procedures? So first, in 5.1, we have active and reactive monitoring. It's very simple, easy, but important in workplace. Also in exam, but specifically in the workplace. Anything. Okay, let's read first, then I will explain. What is active monitoring? Ensuring the health and safety standards are correct and being met before accidents are caused. Okay, before happening the incident, before something went wrong, what we fix with our sense, with our knowledge, with our competencies, with our skills, with different tools and equipments. Once we did, once we take action, once we did something good to avoid the happening of incident. So means before happening something, before happening an incident, accident, what measures we take, what control we put in the workplace are known as active or proactive measures. Or what we find out, where we identify in the site, like before incident, we find out that the risk assessment is not appropriate. Before incident, we find some improper use of tools and equipments. That is known as reactive or active monitoring. And then reactive is, sorry, proactive or active. Reactive is using accident, incident, and ill health data. Once, like after completing a year or after happening something bad, after happening an incident or accident, we use the data of the investigation report, near miss reports. After, by using these data is coming in reactive measures or reactive monitoring. Why it happened, how many times it happened, we set the trend analysis, we find out the root cause, we find the direct causes, illness record, sickness record, and first aid injuries. These things, when we use the accident data, it's known as reactive. Okay, performance standards, conformance or non-conformance with standards, number and quality of risk assessments, health and safety trainings, consultative committee meetings to schedule, workplace inspection to schedule. Okay, when we set out some standard, we identify or we develop a matrix that these type of risk assessments we need to have. We need to develop such risk assessment. We need to have such training for our employees. We need to have safety committee meeting or other OHS meetings, the schedule, appropriate time frame, and workplace inspections, which we are going to conduct during a month or a year or by whole project. Systematic inspections. What are the types of inspections? One is systematic observations, like we are going to inspect something, sometimes general or sometimes specific. We go and we check the premises, overall workplace environment, housekeeping, access, egress, fire safety measures, machineries, vehicles, plant, and equipment. We check that. That is observation, what we observe on site. Then interviewing. This is being done by people. Like once we visit the workplace, we interview the people. We ask what is the methodology of the work, how you perform this task, and we can check their behavior. We can ask questions from them. Then examination, it's about procedures. When we examine the procedures, we check the risk assessment, we check or we um, take the evidences of procedures and plans, what they have developed for confined space, for lifting at height, for lifting operations, for work at height, sorry, for lifting operations. So when we check the procedures, their documental approach, how they develop the document, we check the permit to work, method statement, risk assessment. These are in shape of examination, and here we examine the documents and procedures. Safety inspections, samplings, tours, and surveys. Safety inspection, examination of workplace, statutory inspection, plant and machinery, pre-use. What is statutory inspection? That's something which is required by state, which is required by law, a legal requirement. And plant and equipment, machinery inspection, pre-use checklist. Before starting the work, we have developed some checklist and procedures, like we need to ensure that they are in compliance or no. Then safety sampling, representative sample to judge compliance. We check only one area. Suppose the site is consist on 10 different areas or 10 kilometers. So we just visit one area or two areas, and then we assume that the level of compliance in area 1 is the same level of compliance in area 10. Safety sampling is less time consuming. You only visit a specific area or specific procedure you examine, and then you make your judgment. Safety survey, detailed examination of one issue topic. For example, now the weather is too hot, so we are conducting welfare survey on the workplace. In this, what we are considering: first aid measures, provision of drinking water, provision of rest shelters, washing facility, drinking facility, the supply of cold drinks like electrolytes to the workers. So when we do this, we check each and every area, that's known as safety survey. Safety tour, it's mostly high profile. It's with the top management. It's not usual. It's like once a week or as per the conditions once in a month. That is known as safety tour, which is always including the senior project management. Other standards, health surveillance. Health surveillance is the record of workers' health, how they are. It's a proactive measure, like before happening anything wrong, we ensure that all the workers are in good health. We hire a male nurse, we hire a first aider, we hire a approved physician. He visited the workplace and he checked the blood pressure, sugar, heartbeat, and all medical history. That is known as health surveillance. It's a proactive measure, like before something wrong, we did health surveillance, and we find out that these people are blood pressure patients. These are people who have diabetic, they are having problem with their heart, they are having problem with cold. So we can assign them work according to their health conditions. Okay, then benchmarking, comparison to other organizations, can compare between sectors. Yeah, benchmarking is something when we set a standard, not international standard, not a law, but locally we set a standard. Like organization X, they have only 10 first aid cases in 6 months. So why organization Y have 20 or organization Z have 30? So we need to set a benchmark, like this is a benchmark, this is a standard practice, or this is the best industrial practice, and we have to follow that. That is known as benchmarking. What are the factors we need to consider when we are going to inspect the workplace? First, we need to check type of inspection. Is it a safety sample, safety survey, safety inspection, site observation, or it's a site tour? Then we need to think the frequency, how often this is being done, daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly. Allocation of responsibilities, who will do the inspection? Which type of competency level of the inspector is required? Then objectives of the inspectors, what he is going to inspect: overall site, only plant and equipment, health surveillance, or he is going to just check the documents. Then he can use some checklists, which are pre-developed checklist. This is easy and quick way to identify the problems. Action planning for problems found, training of for inspectors. These are the things we need to consider while developing a workplace inspection. So example, inspection system. Bank head office. Here is a case study for us, only for understanding. Maybe we are going to inspect one bank's head office. So we need to know, we need to be aware what is the purpose. The purpose is monitoring health and safety standard. So you can imagine, just guess the scenario in your mind. It's a bank. There is no hot work, there is no lifting, no confined space, no excavations, no access egress issues, much more. There is no more fire hazards. There are fire hazards, but not much like workplace conditions. There is no chemical, no flammable, no combustible materials are being stored. So the requirement is very easy and light in ways of hazards. So frequency, it's okay, monthly inspecting the workplace. Then a person's responsible manager at different level. Yeah, the managers of different floors, different sections, they are responsible to inspect. Competence, if they get training for 1 day only, like a 1 day training is enough to inspect a bank head office. Inspection checklist they can make, or they can make it on the spot as per the requirements. Follow-up arrangements, that is an action plan, like what the inspector have observed, like he find out 5 observations, so he need to take an action plan from the management, from the different managers, in which time you are going to fix it and who will fix. So that is example of bank inspection. So what then we have learned here about the use of checklist. Maybe the inspector use checklist. Using checklist have some benefits and some demerits also, or some disadvantages also. The benefits is it covers all the points. If I'm going to inspect a workplace, maybe I forget something, but when it's written in a checklist, I will not forget. And it's quick, it's easy, it's a shape of record, it's a document. The disadvantage is may ignore items not on checklist. Yeah, when I have a checklist, I just focus on the checklist. Maybe there is something which is missing in the checklist. It will keep missing. I cannot focus on that. That is a normal human mentality. So in group list, the topic headings that should be included on an inspection checklist for use in your workplace. Design a rough format. Yes, guys, this is for you. You have to develop wherever you are working, offices, warehouse, bank, whatever. Wherever you are working, you need to develop a sample checklist in a format. What factors you need to inspect in your workplace. So typical inspections include what mostly we need to have in the inspection: fire safety, housekeeping, environmental issues, traffic routes, chemical safety. These are some major points which we need to ensure. And these points are mostly available. These hazards are mostly available on all the workplaces. It's a production unit, it's a construction, it's building, it's infra, it's chemical plant, it's a manufacturing unit, it's an industry, it's a warehouse, it's a material supply chain sector. So these are some typical which we need to inspect in the workplace. So inspections must follow through into action plan. Whenever we have some inspection, we need to develop an action plan. Like, for example, today I have noticed on the side that the fuel container was stored at undesignated area and without drip tray. So there is a chances of getting fire because fuel is flammable. So what is the risk category? It's a high risk observation for me as a safety professional. So I will advise them to fix it by today or immediately. Okay, by today, then I will give them a time. In 23, this is the time to close out the action. What required? The drip tray under the fuel container. Fire extinguisher to handle any fire emergency. Who will do that? The site engineer, the site supervisor, or the mechanical team, or the the fuel supply team members. They are the one who is responsible. Next, after inspecting the workplace, it's a stage coming for report writing. Once we conduct the site inspection, then we need to develop a report. The report, what we need in the report, the style of report, it must be formal. There should be not much abbreviations, not much difficult, free of jargons, simple and concise. It must be clear and specific. The structure. In the structure, first we write executive summary. What mean by executive summary means what is the purpose of this inspection. Here we can mention the names and of the participants, the date of the inspection, the area of the inspection, That is structure. Then content, significant findings. For example, in the project where there are 2,000 people are working, you find that 2 people are not wearing safety helmets. So it's not a significant. That you can convey verbally to the team that, see, we find 2 people not wearing the PP, but it's not a something which we need to put in the report. It will devalue the report because this is not something significant. This is a day-to-day activity. And on the other hand, you have visited the workplace during the inspection, you find that there is a 10-meter deep excavations. People are entering inside the excavation without access. That is significant, which need to accelerate to the line manager of the organization or line manager of the people who are working in unsafe manners. Then justified recommendations. Then we need to write the references. Why you need to do that? For example, if it's relating to excavation, here in UAE, there is code of practice COP 29, which is purely for excavations. So we can mention as a reference, OSHA COP 29.0. You need to comply with OSHA COP 29.0 project HSC plan and see the attached picture. So that is justification and recommendations. Okay, and then reactive monitoring. Dealing with things that went wrong. So what we discuss here, inspections, samples, surveys, these are proactive or active. What is reactive? When we use the data of incidents, when something gone wrong. We visited the project during the audit, we find many NCR, there is enforcement actions taken being taken against the organization, there is fine, there is terminations, there is more sickness, ill health, blah, blah. Then what data we use and we take action by using that data, that is known as reactive. Okay, dealing with the things that went wrong, accident, incident, ill health, other unwanted events and situations, highlights areas of concern, things that have already gone wrong, measures failure. Here in this type of monitoring, we check and we highlight the areas where we have more problems, where we have more concerns, where the procedures are not developed, or the developed procedures are not being implemented or not beneficial in the workplace. Then method. Lessons from one specific event, like once some accident happened, we learn a lesson from them, and that we publish with our colleagues or with the other project parties. Data collected over a period. In 6 months, how many first aid cases happened? We collect the data from the first aider and we take an action. Data collected and reported about accidents, dangerous occurrence, near misses, ill health, workers' complaints, enforcement action. What it helped? It helped to set out the trends over a specific time period, like how many unsafe acts, unsafe conditions happened. In unsafe conditions, what are the unsafe conditions? More is excavations. Number 2 is confined space. Number 3 is, we can make a graph. Number 3 is work at height. Number 4 is lifting operation. Number 5 is PP. So once we get these trends, we need to work on that. If the more unsafe conditions or more unsafe acts we found in excavation work, we need to train that team. We need to train their supervisor. We need to discuss the issue with their line manager to fix it. We need to provide them an appropriate solution and methodology. So pattern is hotspot of certain types injury. When there is some injuries happened or some serious incident happened, we've set out the pattern. An organization has 2 sites carrying out similar operation. Company A has 300 workers and has had 10 accidents. Company B has 150 workers and has had 5 accidents. Which has the better safety performance? Anyone can answer that? Guys, anyone? So
I think
here
it's the same
company,
because it's the same ratio between the both companies.
yeah, but the company A is in worse condition because when you count the accident rate, company A have the more accident rate. Let me explain you. Looking at the raw data,
but the number of the employees are
yes,
the workers are more.
when you count the accident rate, it will become same because 300 and 150 workers, right? The accident rate Yeah, accident rate will be same for both organizations. So, but here what we can say, how we count the accident incident rate, number of accidents during a specific period divided by average number of workers multiplied by 1000. That is a formula to count the accident incident rate. So when we count that, the result will become same. But in general, the company B, who is having less workers, why company B? Morally, in the less people, it's easy to control. When there is 300 people, just divide them in 10 groups. So means they are working in 30 different groups. When there is 150 workers, divide them in 10 means they are working only 15 groups. For each group, maybe there is one supervisor for each 10 peoples, right? So in this company A, company B, they can have 15 supervisors. Company A can have 15 supervisors. Anyhow, the condition is same. But for me, another example, in the physical classroom session, a class where is having 30 students and a class where is having 10 students. If the result came same, means the class with 10 students have bad result, because a teacher or a tutor, an instructor, he can focus more on 10 other than 30. Anyway, you can consider it same. That is actual answer for that. Okay. Here is the formula, how we calculate the accident incident rate. Use of statistics. Where we use the statistics? Statistics means the data, sickness, ill health, first aid cases, emergency, sorry, incident rates, number of injuries, number of LTI, number of fatalities. All these is statistics. So where we can use, we can, when we are using, we need to think the following thing, that data can be manipulated. Maybe there is incident happened, but not reported. Incident may go unreported. Sudden increase in reporting of incidents can suggest a decrease in performance. Yeah, if suddenly the incidents are being increased, means that the safety performance or the safety protocols are decreased. What are the other reactive measures? Enforcement action, often required during pre-tender qualification. Once the client select a contractor, they hire a contractor, there is a pre-qualification document coming. Maybe while reviewing the pre-qualification, they can say that we are not going to hire you because your past record or your previous qualifications are not met as per the criteria. Civil claims, total cost of claims can be calculated, may be affected by advertising campaigns, dissatisfaction with the organization. If there are some campaigns are launched against the organization, the government authorities can take action on that. What is meant by active monitoring? What is meant by reactive monitoring? Give examples of active monitoring techniques. What topics could be considered in a general workplace inspection? What are accident rates used for? Why we use accident rate? To set out the trends, to find out the pattern, to find out that what are the reasons of the accident, root causes of the accidents, and also we use that data to develop a lesson learned and to adopt the required control measures. Health and safety auditing. Audit is very interesting topic. It's very interesting. So let's go through this one. Auditing is a systematic, objective and critical evaluation of an organization's health and safety management system. When we have a system, we can have the audit of that system, and in audit we critically review the health and safety system, its implementation, its documentation on the workplace. What are the difference between an audit and an inspection? Yes, an inspection is mostly by internal employees. It's frequent, it's not specific for some topic, it can be a general workplace inspection, but the audit is a critical review, more time consuming. With the competent people, the auditors are competent and their recommendations are being taken in more valuable manners other than the inspections. So here is the difference between audit and inspection. Audit. We can examine the document, we can examine the procedure, we can interview the workers, we can verify standards. It can be a long process. It's expensive, yeah, because we need to hire the auditors. It requires a high level of competence. The auditor The person who is coming to audit, he must be enough competent to conduct the audit. On the other hand, inspection, it check the workplace only. It can check the records. It's quick. It's lower cost because internal people only doing the inspections like safety team or quality team. More only require basic competence. A basic competence is required because anyone or even a supervisor who is working in the workplace in one day, he can be aware that what he need to check in the workplace. It's a part of audit. Yeah, it's a part of audit, but very small part of the audit. What are the pre-audit preparations? Or it's also known as audit plan. Here we set out the time scale, like which date and from which time to which time the audit will be conducted. Scope of the audit, what is the purpose? Like I just conducted the summer safety audit or heat safety audit. So I mentioned that the purpose of the audit is to check the contractor's compliance with health and safety measures in regards with summer safety. Area and extent of the audit, what areas we are going to check: welfare, summer safety, confined spaces, or fire safety. Who will be required? The number of the name and number of participants from the contractor, from the team who is being audited, like project manager, safety managers, construction managers, or the lifting engineer, if for example it's an audit for lifting operation. And from the auditee team, the safety professionals, the project manager, as well, whatever required as per the project, we need to mention their names. What documentation will be required? We need to inform to the team we are going to audit that these documents we need to check during the audit. Auditor competence also need to notice time and resources required for the auditors. So during the audit, what we have to do, there are three things mostly. One is opening and closing meeting. The second is workplace inspection. The third is document verification. So what is the paperwork? It's the verification of documents and records like permit to works, how many issued, how many closed, how they are closed, are adequate compliance, the risk assessments, and plans and procedures, legal documents. Then interviews for the managers of the workers, observations, workplace inspection, equipment, activities, tools and equipments, etc. So this is that's what we are doing during the audit. Okay, and what documents we check usually? Health and safety policy, plans, procedures, minutes of meeting, training records, accident records, first aid records, regulatory visit, enforcement action, complaints, workers' behavior, workers' complaint, workers' feedback. All these are the documents which an auditor can check during the audit. In the end of audit, there is a closing meeting, a verbal session where the auditor gave them the feedback like what we have observed in your workplace, what are the non-compliances, how many observations, how many NCRs, and what you need to do. What will be the closeout action? That is a verbal that's being done in the closing meeting. And after that, the auditor write a detailed and comprehensive report on his finding, recommendations, priorities, time scale, and send to the audit team. So responsibilities of the audit. The organization, external authorities. We have two types of audit. One is internal, which is known as organizational audit, and the one is external by third parties, by authorities, enforcement agencies, insurance companies, accreditation centers like OSAS 45001. OSAS can audit. It is the responsibility of managers at all levels to ensure recommendations for improvement are communicated and implemented. After conducting the audit, what the recommendations are being given, it's the responsibility of the managers, supervisors, line managers to communicate with all the employees in the organization so that they can be implemented properly. Discuss the advantage and disadvantage of an external and internal audit. Here is the advantages and disadvantages of external and internal audit. Okay, guys, the internal audit is which is being done inside the organization. The external audit is being done by the third party, by authorities, by enforcement agencies, or by the project management consultant or client hire a third party. So external audit, what is the advantages? It's the auditor is not under influence, but in the internal audit, maybe the auditor is under the project manager and he is influenced. He can be biased, but external auditor, they cannot be biased. fresh pair of eyes. When a person is entering to the workplace, he will check each and everything. Like fresh pair of eyes, he can catch more things in the eyes. But a person who is working already on the same place, he is aware about the things, like what is going on and where is the documents, where is the policy, where are the activities, and maybe he just tolerate and ignore many things. But an external auditor, he will not do that. So external audit, it's expensive. The people are more competent. They are up to date with the legal requirement, more able to be critical. Yeah, they can criticize the organization. They can criticize the audit team. They can have more weightage in their comments. But on the other side, in the internal audit, it's cheap, it's easy. The people are aware about the workplace. They will not miss anything they know, but they can be biased. It's cheap, it's easy, it's on the same place with the same team. The auditors are more free with the workers, but they can be, maybe they are not updated with the new requirements. Maybe they are not having adequate auditing skills to control. And the comments internal auditors are not giving with the more value and the more worth. Correcting non-conformities, major non-conformities or minors. So we have two types of things. If it's something normal, an observation is being generated or raised. But if we found something major, like there is a lapse in the documents, there is no procedure developed for something, a significant issue which need urgent action, or it's a life-threatening condition, then we can issue an NCR, and that is known as major non-conformities. Define auditing. What is the difference between an audit and workplace inspection? What type of information might be examined during an audit? During an audit, workplace inspection, document inspection, people's interviews, feedback, incident, accident records, all the statistics can be checked during the audit. And so guys, I think we have done half of the element.